You know, you could be out with friends, other groups, you could be watching your favorite Netflix series. We know this. So we're glad that you're here and that you've positioned yourself in a place where hopefully you'll hear from God tonight. And that's my prayer. So we've been working our way through some random bits of wisdom in the book of Proverbs. Last week, the wisdom was about kissing bearded men, right? Wait, no, that was honesty, that's what it was. That image just stuck in my head and I can't get it out, it's just disgusting. We have videos on YouTube, so if you missed it, you should probably go back and watch that one. It was pretty intense, to say the least, right, Brian? I guess not, like you're not scarred from this at all, huh?
No,
Well, this week I settled in on something that God showed me back in 2005 in a big way. And basically that theme is that people need kindness. And now, 11 years later, wouldn't you agree that people need kindness even more? Yeah. So, sorry, this is like annoying, but I'll try to do this. Okay, about a month ago, Braden and I we went out to lunch at a Taco Bell because Braden, I could tell, was just like really struggling with something that was going on. And like we had this issue going on with family friends that basically like we could see Satan drawing one of his friends in hardcore. And basically like when that happens, we see like the world just becomes so enticing. And it's hard to watch. Like, as I was looking around at Taco Bell that day, I just saw, like, darkness all around me. I saw, like, people lacking joy, feeling depressed. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Do you guys see it all the time? Well, instead of just feeling, like, that heaviness and feeling like, this world sucks, as we feel sometimes, instead, God showed me and reminded me that like, as it gets darker and darker, our light is just going to shine brighter and brighter. Remember that from Panama City? Like, when they turned out the lights and just one light shone. And, like, the darker it gets, the more your light can shine. It's amazing. So basically, people crave to be noticed. People crave to be loved. And people crave to have any kind of kindness shown to them. So tonight's message is going to be on Proverbs 11:17, which is, a man who is kind benefits himself, but a cruel man hurts himself. We're going to touch mainly on the first part of that verse, about how kindness can benefit our lives. So I'm going to have a few points, so if you're taking notes, I don't know if you've ever noticed this before, but in your announcement sheet, there's like a spot where you can actually write it. I know, Kayla, you look so surprised. It's true. So if you want to take notes, it's there. And there's going to be 4 main themes here that I want you to take away tonight. So to develop kindness in our lives, we need to, number 1, keep our minds others focused. When you come into a room, is your initial thought, what will they do for me, or what will I do for them? Like, as you're starting to come into class, or come to his house, or whatever, what is your main focus? Is it about yourself, or is it about what you can give? I want you just to think about that. And we're going to start tonight with a video, and I need you to just disregard the cheesiness, because halfway through there's a really cheesy part. Makes me not want to show the video, but it's really good. The message behind it is amazing, so don't miss the meaning behind it just because of the cheesy part.
Kid, every time we pull one out, he's right there. Man, he's what needs to talk to his parents if they're at home. And what is up with the traffic today? It's like always, every day, the intersection's always crowded. I hate pulling out of here. Maybe some of these dumb roads. Oh, there's it. Oh, okay, so I'm not even here. Right. Great lady. The princess of parking. Sure, take the spot. Way to be considered. Oh, kidding me? Unbelievable. Oh. It's about time. Let's see, what do I want?
Yeah, can I add a cookie to that order? Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, no problem, only guy in the world. I'm sure you need your cookies. The world, your oyster, and he's serving your cookies.
Thank you so much. What can I get for you? Yeah, I'll talk to Cat Macchiato. Sure, no problem. It's $3.85. And it might take a few minutes here. We've got quite a line, obviously, and thanks for your patience. Great.
Yeah, great. Great for me. Win it again. Unbelievable.
And her cheeks.
What? What is that? Oh, in the world? What am I supposed to do? How can I do anything about that? Can I even help with that? I don't.
You need coffee, sir?
I can't take this anymore. I gotta get out of here.
Hey, what? Hey, buddy, come here.
So, I personally have never struggled with impatience like that guy. Just in case you guys did, I have this message for you, so, just kidding. So, how many of you struggle with impatience and a what about me attitude? All of us, right? Yeah. You can raise your hand if you want. But what if we lived as if we had a pair of glasses like that we were able to see the real struggles going on inside each person? What if we chose to see, like the beginning, the title of this message, what if we choose to see what's going on with people? In psychology, there's a term called the fundamental attribution error. And this is the tendency for people to place more emphasis on the external characteristics than what's going on the inside to explain somebody's behavior. So basically, let's see, you get cut off in traffic, and your instant thought is, gosh, that person is rude, so insensitive, it's all about them, kind of like the guy, you know, like you're instantly judgmental. But you do it, and all of a sudden, well, I'm in a hurry. Like there was enough space, I can get in there. Like you justify your actions, but for other people, you instantly judge. What does this look like around campus for you guys? Your roommate, in your opinion, is lazy and insensitive and doesn't pick up, doesn't do the dishes, and you're having a problem with them. Well, instead of just thinking that, what if something is going on that their parents are like putting all this unnecessary stress on them to actually pass their classes and maybe even get straight A's, But you're like judging quickly and assuming that you know what's going on and you want things done your way. What about that rude person down the hall? What if they're on the edge of committing suicide? You just don't know. What about your friend that you text and they don't reply in like the timely manner that you want them to? Well, maybe they would rather talk in person, or maybe they're busy or something. You just never know. So it's easy to jump to conclusions and think that we know what's going on with somebody instead of considering the deeper struggles. So the second one, to develop kindness in our lives, we need to invest beyond what is expected. Let's take a look at the first part of the proverb again. A man who is kind benefits himself. Hold up a second. Like, a man who is kind benefits himself. How does that work? Because doesn't kindness, take time? Every act of kindness I think of, it takes time, especially, the levels of it. You can hold a door. That doesn't take much time, but it's kind. Great. What about you're in line and you want to get to the grocery store really fast, but all of a sudden you can tell the lady in back of you is about to have a screaming child on her hands. Do you let that person go through and just allow that person to be able to get out of there as fast as possible and not make a scene? Maybe. What about that person stranded on the side of the road? Sometimes that could be dangerous, so don't do that all the time or whatever, but with wisdom, stranded people need our help. What about just a friend that needs a listening ear? Or somebody back home that is struggling with something that you know in a big way. Can you take the time to send them a card or maybe make a phone call the old-fashioned way with cell phones? Maybe. Or the ultimate act of kindness, which takes a lot of time. Build relationships with people enough to bring them into a position where they can hear from God and learn who He is and develop those relationships with Him. Let's take a minute. I didn't give a handheld mic or anything. Do you guys have one? Or somebody that can read loud? Okay. Could you look up a verse for me? A couple verses? Mark 2, 1 through 5. And then I'll need it again for somebody who doesn't mind reading quite, kind of a large chunk. It'll be later, but is somebody comfortable with that? Kaylee will. Okay. So afterwards, Ben, if you can give it to Kaylee. Mark 2, 1 through 5. Yep.
Is that better?
Good.
And when he returned to Capernaum after some days, it was reported that he was at home, and many were gathered together, so that there was no more room, not even at the door. And he was preaching the word to them. And they came, bringing him a paralytic carried by 4 men. And when they could not get near him because of the crowd, they removed the roof above him. And when they had made an opening, they let down the bed on which the paralytic lay. And when Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven."
Okay, think about this. It always blows my mind when I think about this. And when I thought about doing this message, I was looking at this ceiling and I'm like, okay, you prepare a message and you do it so that people can hear what you have to say, right? Like you put all this time and energy, and all of a sudden, like somebody's like sawing through the ceiling above you. Like, what? What's going on? And like debris is falling, and it's like you have to keep spitting it out of your mouth to like keep talking. Seriously, I mean, but luckily they were interrupting Jesus, and he's a little more perfect than maybe Troy or I. So he's a little less he's a little less unselfish. So yeah, so he didn't mind. That was awesome. And so they broke some rules to be able to do that. Sometimes, guys, we're going to need to break some rules in order to get people to wear, like, the ultimate act of kindness, like these people did, you know? We don't just need to invite people to Jesus, but we need to bring them. And here's a quote for you. To reach people no one is reaching, we got to do things no one is doing. So hold up a second, Heather. Does that mean I need to invite that EGR person to the retreat? Do you know what an EGR person is? Anybody? Nobody? Yes, extra grace required. We all know them, right? Seriously, we all know some. God might be asking you to bring them to the retreat, and you're like, but what about my bonding time with my friends? Well, maybe he's asking you to do it, you know? Sometimes we need to make those kindness sacrifices. What about learning another language to go to a different country that maybe God is calling you to go to? He might be doing that. Does this mean also that maybe I should step out of my comfort zone and go down the street to Deja Vu and minister to the people working there, or possibly the people going there? There's a girl who actually does that and has a ministry that does that. She is one of the most passionate people I know because God has called her to do that, and she's loving it. But sometimes we just need to follow his voice and see what happens. Do I really need to go serve people during spring break when really I want to soak up the sun someplace nice and warm down south? Maybe. I mean, there are seasons for everything. There are times when God is calling you specifically somewhere to do something. But there are other times when you do need a break, and he might be calling you for a time that just you need. But are you truly listening to him? What is God calling you to do to slow down and meet the needs around you? Troy, that's one. Yeah. So what is God calling you to do to slow down and meet the needs around you? So number 3, to develop kindness in our lives, we need to never underestimate the value of kindness. In the beginning, I told you that I would share a story with you from the lesson that God taught me back in 2005. So on this particular day, I was having one of those rough days. I know that as you're coming to his house, you're probably never in that position where you're like, oh, I don't want to be there, like things are going on, but like you come in with your wholehearted worship on and you're ready to love on people. Well, that wasn't me this day. Like, I wasn't ready for that, and I was just having a what about me day. And all of a sudden, there was this car in front of me that was full of helium balloons. Kind of like this room. And it kind of reminded me of it when we were bringing the balloons over here. I'm like, that's what it looked like that day. And I remember, like, just thinking, or actually it was kind of a thought I believe from God. And he asked me, when are helium balloons used? Well, when you're about to celebrate somebody, and you want to cheer somebody up. Those are the main things, right? Like celebrating somebody or cheering them up. So, you can't like see a helium balloon and think, well, I'm sorry. Every time you see a helium balloon, you think somebody's day is about to get brighter, for sure. And so, I started to think, I need to start having a lifestyle, a helium balloon kind of living lifestyle. And so I was like, okay, let's gather some people and do this together. So I put together a little 6 to 8 person life group, And our goal in this was just to go out once a week and see if we could get some God moments of just loving on people and bringing stories back together and seeing what God did through this. So, do you understand that sometimes it's not easy at all to minister to people or show kindness to complete strangers? It's not. So, the first time I went out, I went over to Meyer, and I was sitting in the parking lot, and I just asked God, okay, show me the person that needs this today. And I just waited, and all of a sudden, there was this lady and a newborn. She just got the newborn out with the car seat, and she set the baby in the cart, and she started to stroll up to Meyer, and so I walked up to her because I knew God was saying, it's her, go bless her. So I had a card. I want you to visualize this. It's a card with a gift card inside, okay? That's all it is. Okay, so I go up to her, and I say, I know you don't know me, and this may seem a little strange, but I have a small gift here for you, just to help you out during this tiring and tougher season that you're in. Because I know, when I was there, it was pretty much survival mode that I was in, and it's tough. So I just want to bless you. And she's immediately, not even a hesitation, she's like, no, thank you. And I was like, what? Seriously, okay, I'm not ISIS. Okay, that didn't exist back then, but I don't have a box here with a bomb in it or anything. It's a card with a gift card. Clearly, it's not going to hurt her in any way, but she wouldn't take it. And so I managed to get through that and probably politely said, okay, well, have a nice day or whatever, and I went back to the car shaking. I'm like, what the heck, God, what was that? Seriously. So, in my spirit, I felt him saying, she was never taught to receive. And so, instead of being angry about this, I prayed for her, that she would be able to receive from people. Maybe that's why she was feeling so, tired, because she's not accepting help from anybody. So, things may not work out the way that you expect, but God has a plan in it. It's just about following his voice. So the other night, this is so funny, Brayden had a birthday party, and he had a couple friends over, and Mello, his buddy from a long time ago, he's out of the blue, no kidding, while this message is being prepared and everything, he's out of the blue. I'm done being kind to strangers. I'm my ears just perked up, and I'm like, hey Mello, guess what I'm teaching about on Tuesday? Kindness. And he's like, oh man, Miss Heather, if I walked in there and kindness was up on the board or whatever, I would walk right out. And I'm like, really? That's interesting. I was like, what if Jesus did that to you? What if he got sick of people being mean to him, and he just decided, forget these people, I'm out of here, And then the ultimate act of kindness wouldn't have been done, because he would have just been like, forget it, I'm not dying on the cross for these rude, stupid people. So their other friend, Jerry, he's while we're debating this, he's like, boom! Boom! For each little comment we're making. I'm like, that was a good one, I guess. So it was funny. But never underestimate the value of kindness. Will our plans always turn out the way we expect? No. Sometimes they do, though. And sometimes they even surpass our expectations. I'll give you another little story. 2 months ago, Tobin and I were working at a quesadilla stand. I always want to say enchiladas. Quesadilla stand. And this mom and this daughter walk up. The daughter's 5 or 6 years old. And they order their quesadilla, and the little girl starts playing with these water bottles that we're selling. Now it's it's not just a water bottle, it's a squirt bottle. So on really hot days like today, you can squirt your face and get cooled off. It's really awesome. Can I squirt your face? She's like, yes. She's so excited. So I squirted her, and she was just so full of joy. And then she's like, Mom, can I buy one? And her mom's like, honey, you have $6. This is the first stand we're at. We have the rest of the day. You're not going to spend your money right here. You'll be sad later. So I immediately just like bent down and I'm like, you know what? I just bought 5 of these for my friends and family. I would really like it if you'd take one. And of course, you know that the little girl was like super excited. But what got me was her mom. Because her mom, like, they were waiting another 5 minutes to get the quesadilla done. And probably like 10 times in that time period, she's like, people just don't do that anymore. That was so kind. Thank you. Like, probably said thank you like 10 times. So, I mean, that just proves like the Taco Bell thing at the very beginning, you know, like the darker this world is, the more the little things are gonna just add up and be a big deal. So never underestimate that. So what if you get rejected, like the first story? Does that mean we should get discouraged and give up, never stepping out of our comfort zones? Growth never happens in comfort zones. By the way, kind of in my life, I have had a huge hatred towards speaking in public. This is totally out of my comfort zone. But God, like back in the spring, told me, I want you to start using your mouth in larger settings. And yeah, now it's fall. But here I am, out of my comfort zone. But if you're gonna go to the next level with God, you gotta do that. You gotta be able to do the next thing that He's calling you to do. So to develop kindness in our lives, we need to, number 4, realize the depth of where kindness can reach. So let's look at the key verse again. This is about to be, Kaylee, do you have it's Psalm 37. So a man who is kind benefits himself, but a cruel man hurts himself. And so far we've been obviously proving that the Bible is truth, but proving the first part of this to be truth. Like, yeah, a man who is kind benefits himself. Obviously the Bible's true, so here you go, that's true. The next part, I want to prove to you also is true. So far, back in January 2012, I felt a huge pull on my heart. Like, I went to a conference in January, and God told me on the last day of that conference, you need to go to Cambodia this summer and learn more about human trafficking. I knew that we had an alumni that was working over there, and she had been there for 2 years already, and she was about to be done with that, so she had learned a lot in the last 2 years. So I wanted to go there and be able to learn what is going on over there. And going into this trip, I took 2 students with me, so the 3 of us, just 3 girls, went, and we were with the other girl that was working for the ministry. I knew going into it that my heart broke for the victims. I knew that. But I also knew that I had no compassion for the people that were creating hurt for the victims. I also know that that's not okay as a Christian. I know that, like, it's easy to feel that way, but I know that's not okay. So, when we first got there, I learned one of the last nights of our ministry was going to be going out to the red light districts where women and children are literally before your eyes being sold to people to go wherever for the evening. And so I knew that that was going to be happening, and I began to pray that God would change my heart so that sometime, like by the time that ministry opportunity happened, I would be able to go out and not stay back and pray, which praying is very important as well. But I wanted to be able to go experience that, and I wanted to do it with the right heart. So one morning we had a prayer room going, and I went to the prayer room, and I was journaling, listening to music, and reading my Bible, and I came across Psalm 37. I just want you to read half the chapter, which is 1 through 13. And you'll get a feel for it because the whole chapter is like what Kaylee's going to read.
Is it working?
Okay.
Psalm 37. Fret not yourself because of evildoers. Be not envious of wrongdoers, for they will soon fade like the grass and wither like the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and befriend the faithful. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will act. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your justice as the noonday. Be still before the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in his way, over the man who carries out evil devices. Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself, and tend only to evil. For the evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait for the Lord shall inherit the land. In just a little while the wicked will be no more. Though you look carefully at his place, he will not be there. But the meek shall inherit the land and delight themselves in abundant peace. The wicked plots against the righteous and gnashes his teeth at him, but the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he sees that his day is coming.
Okay. So basically, if we were to continue, the whole chapter is about the wicked not prospering. Sometimes we get in that mindset of, well, they get away with it, can't be that bad. I mean, nothing is happening to them. They just keep doing this, and like, it's kind of like we want a lightning bolt to come down or something, but like, nothing is happening to them, and you don't see like the anger, whatever, of God, like anything happening to them, so you think it's okay. But what God showed me that day was there, in that chapter, is no peace. What is one of the greatest gifts of being a Christian? The peace that only comes from God. When we are living like in right standing with God, when like I know seasons of sin that I have been in, and the captivity that I felt from that, but I also know seasons of not being in that, and living in that freedom and knowing that you are in the right place with God, you feel so much peace, and it brings you so much passion because you like hear from him, and you have all these things that you have going on because God keeps telling you these things, because you have like a direct connection with God. They don't have that. Like the wicked do not have that. You know that feeling that you get when you've just like had a super big argument with either a family member or a friend, and you know when you don't resolve it, and all of a sudden like you're just feeling that unrest, and you just feel like, you know, and you just want forgiveness, and you want to go and reconcile that and just be done, and then you can live in peace again. Well, these guys, like, or girls, or whoever is doing the harm, they are living in that day after day after day. I cannot imagine. And my heart seriously broke for those people. Hurting people end up hurting people. So, So fast forward a couple more days into our trip. We had the choice of staying back to pray or going out and doing this ministry. I was able to go out only because of the grace of God. And one man in particular stayed long enough. It was, I want you to get a visual here. It was me and my friend Steph and this other man. So just the three of us. We didn't want like a big group out there doing this or whatever. And the goal of it was to take this survey out and talk to them. And I was like, this is not going to work, you know? But like, you just think, seriously, they're not going to answer questions about, hey, why are you doing this? You know, that was my mentality. But these guys had been going out and doing this, and it works. So we went out, and we just prayed, you know, that God would lead us to the right people. We got in this conversation with one man who ended up just staying long enough that we were able to start asking the right questions. And we made sure that it was done gently, and he knew that we were caring for him in order to ask these and help him start thinking in a different way. So I'm going to kind of read this because I want you to get like the full feeling of some of the things that he said. So we were asking him about his thoughts on prostitution and why he believes being out there purchasing women is okay in his mind. And like I said, this was done gently. And he said, Well, it's their way of making a living. They want this. It's their choice. Some have the choice of being out in the fields, working hard, but they're lazy and would rather do something that isn't as hard. It's enjoyable for them. So we asked him, what if it isn't their choice? What if someone had sold them into a situation like this, and they would honestly rather be doing something else, but now they're trapped? And honestly, I don't know if he'd never, ever thought about that question before, but you could see like a light bulb go off in his mind. And so then we just continued this conversation, and he was extremely receptive because he was, I don't know, God had him in the right spot at the right time. And I remember like looking into his eyes and asking him some questions and just thinking like, God allowed me to see a little boy, not just this man that is trying to look all tough, but a little boy inside of him that somewhere along the road of his journey, he got off course and something happened to him. And then he just like really followed that and never got back on again. And so because of that, he was believing this, and it was creating all this chaos in his life. Just want you to remember that, like, a man who is kind benefits himself, but a cruel man hurts himself. Try to realize the depth of where kindness can reach. Going back to the beginning, will you choose to see? Will you choose to look beyond the surface to what is deep within someone? Will you do your best to show kindness to as many people as you come in contact with? Because this world really needs it. I want to leave you with a final verse, and that's Hebrews 10:24. Let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds. Like together, we can encourage one another to do this. So as we close, you may have been wondering what these balloons were all about, except some of you that I told you we thought it was your birthday, so we just put balloons up. But it wasn't really for that reason. And it wasn't also to create hatred at the dollar store, because you can imagine, going in there, we'd like 75 balloons blown up. They're like, but they did it, and we gave them a week. So it wasn't like today, hey, could you blow all these up? So I'm going to play a song here at the end, and while that song is playing, if everybody could kind of be in a chair that has a balloon, there's also a card on the chair. And some of you may not have somebody in mind right now, and that's okay. Just enjoy the song. But if you do have somebody in mind that is going through something somewhat rough and just needs some kindness, write them a card. And then bring a balloon. But I want you to think through the balloon, because guys, girls, whatever, don't send the wrong message with the hearts. So think about that. Decide what you're going to do. But take a balloon with you. Like, you never know. 75 balloons going out of here may create some divine appointments out there with people asking, like, what are all the balloons about? Take that opportunity to talk to people. See what happens. So, also, as this song is played, it's more a song that will remind you more about missions and, like, here I am, Lord, send me. But I want you to think about it as, here I am, Lord. Like, where do you want me in this kindness aspect of being on college, or on a college campus, and being ready to just love on the people around you and just watching for what he does there. So, would you pray with me? God, I thank you.